Hi students. So in our previous video we were talking about the continuity. So in that video we have came across when we say the function is continuous, what are the conditions to say the function is continuous. All these things we have came across in the concept of continuity. So in this chapter the next concept after the continuity, it is nothing but a differentiability or the differentiation. So the basic thing of the differentiation or differentiability, we have already came across this one in the class 11th regarding the chapter limits and derivatives. So in this chapter we have already came across some of the basic concepts regarding the differentiability or the differentiation. So now let us start with the basic thing, that is the definition. What is the definition of the differentiation or the differentiability? It is saying, suppose if I consider f be any real function, I am considering a function f which is a real function. So obviously the domain of this function, it is a set of real numbers. From this set of real numbers I am considering a point, say C. C is any point in the domain of a function which is a real function. Then the derivative, then we are talking about the differentiation. So then the derivative of this function at C, how we are defining the derivative of the function f at the given point C. So it is nothing but f dash of C is equal to limit x tending to C f of x minus f of C divided by x minus C. So the derivative of a function f at the point C is defined as like this. So not only this much clauses, that is provided limit exists, provided limit exists. So which limit? They are talking about this limit. So this is what, and the differentiation or the derivative of a function, it is denoted by f dash of C or d by dx of f of x at the point C. Like this also they are going to be denoted. So now this is what the basic definition of a differentiation or the derivative of a function f at a C. So they are saying that after defining, that is f dash of C is equal to limit x tending to C f of x minus f of C divided by x minus C, they have said that provided limit exists. So they have mentioned that when it limit exists, only at that time we can say that this is the derivative of this function. Suppose if this limit does not exist, means then we say it is not at all having a derivative at the given point. So at the given point the derivative is not existing. So we can say it in that manner, when the limit is not existing. So now my question for you people is, when we are saying the limit exists or limit does not exist, so usually we know that we say the limit exists or the given function is having a limit, means when the left hand limit is equal to the right hand limit, then we say that the given function is having a limit. So the function this function exists a limit when left hand limit is equal to right hand limit, then we say that function exists a limit. Since here we are talking about the derivative, when we say that this limit is going to be existing when the left hand derivative is equal to the right hand derivative. Now my question, what is this left hand derivative and what is this right hand derivative? So let us understand these left hand derivative and right hand derivative one by one. Suppose if I am talking about the left hand derivatives, means look here, look into the basic definition. So what happens, left hand derivative means has limit x is approaching towards the C from the left side. So derivative means the derivative definition itself, f of x minus f of C divided by x minus C. Since x is approaching towards the C from the left side, what happens, it is nothing but limit as h is approaching towards the 0, f of C minus h minus f of C divided by, in place of x we are having C minus h minus C, this one as it is, plus C minus C get cancels. So what we are having as our left hand derivative, it is nothing but limit h tending to 0 f of c minus h minus f of c divided by minus h. So this is the left hand derivative of any given function. Similarly, let us discuss regarding the right hand derivative. So right hand derivative means, obviously, since x is approaching towards the c from the right side, so the derivative is as it is defined in the definition, that is f of x minus f of c divided by x minus c. Since x is approaching towards the c from the right side, it is nothing but has limit h tending to 0 f of c plus h minus f of c divided by c plus h minus c. So in place of x I have replaced by c plus h. So it is nothing but limit h is tending to 0, here plus c minus c get cancels, f of c plus h minus f of c divided by h. So this is our left hand derivative and this was our right hand derivative. So when these two derivatives are equal means, then we say that the given function has a derivative at the point c. So this is what the definition of the derivative or the differentiability definition is saying. So now let us understand the meaning of differentiation through the graphical notation. So let us understand the meaning of this differentiation graphically. So to understand this meaning of differentiation graphically, I have considered one of the curve. So I will call this curve as y is equal to f of x, and this is obviously our x-axis and y-axis. Suppose from the x-axis, if I consider any one of the arbitrary numbers, say c means, then the corresponding point of this point c with what is the coordinate of this point on the curve. So upon the curve means, obviously what happens, since c is a point means, what does the y coordinate becomes of this point? It is nothing but f of c. So now what is the coordinate of this point? C comma f of c. So now I am considering a h which is a very small quantity which is approaching towards the 0. That means h is a very small thing which is very nearer to the 0 but not equal to 0. So suppose if I am considering that h means, I am considering here one point, say c plus h. So I considered one point on the number line, say c plus h. So this point is a c plus h means, then the corresponding point of this point c plus h on the curve y is equal to f of x. What happens? What will be the y coordinate of this point? It will be f of c plus h, because in the x-axis we have considered that point has c plus h. So what is the coordinate of this point then? Then coordinate is c plus h comma f of c plus h. So this is the coordinate of this point. Similarly, if I consider another point, say c minus h means, then the corresponding point upon the curve, it is nothing but f of c minus h. So what is the coordinate of this point then? C minus h comma f of c minus h. Now you got the 3 points on the curve y is equal to f of x. I name this curve as, points as, this point has p, this point has a, and this point has b. Okay, now I will join the curve AP through a line. So by joining this A and P, I am going to get a straight line, which is a line AP. So suppose if I need to calculate slope of the line AP means, or a slope of the chord. So because since it is a curve and this is a line, it happens a chord also, right? So the slope of the chord AP or the slope of the line AP. So how we are going to find the slope of the line AP? So now this is my question. Slope, how we are finding the slope of the line? So we already came across the formulas how to find the slope of the lines in the class 11. So what are the datas we are having to find the slope of the line? So A point is given, B point is given. So for A point we are having the coordinates of A point, and for P points we are having the coordinates of P point. So we are having coordinates of point A and point P. Suppose if I know the points coordinates of the two points, means through that one also we can find the slope of the line. How? We have the formula to find the slope of the line, that is m is equal to y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So by using this formula we are going to find the slope of the line AP. So AP, so this one is y2 x1 y1 x2 y2. Okay, I am considering to finding this one as x2 and y2, and this one has x1 comma y1. So clearly slope of the line AP, that one is equal to y2 minus y1. So what happens? F of c minus h minus f of c divided by x2 minus x1, c minus h minus c. See, this cancels. We are going to get f of c minus h minus f of c divided by minus h. So this is the slope of the line AP. Similarly, I can join the points P and B. So by joining the points P and B, I got a straight line passing from P and B. So again, if I need to find the slope of the line PB, means what and all data we are having here? We are having the data, that is we have the coordinates of the point P, we have the coordinates of the point B. So since we know the coordinates of point P and B, we are having the formula to find the slope of the line by knowing the coordinates of the point, that is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So again, by using this formula we are finding the slope of the line PB. So again I am considering this one as x1 and y1, and this one has x2 y2. Okay, so this one is x2 y2 when I am considering this line. So again, slope of the line, which line? Slope of the line PB. Okay, so that is nothing but y2 minus y1. So f of c plus h minus f of c divided by x2 minus x1. So c plus h minus c. So c get cancels. What is left out? F of c plus h minus f of c divided by h. Now you can see this one has the slope of the line AP and this one has the slope of the line PB. Okay, so you can observe like these two are bit similar. So you can see that these two was found us in the finding the left hand derivative and the right hand derivative. Suppose what is the difference here? Here we are having the limit, say limit h is approaching towards the 0. So what does that implies? H is approaching towards the 0 is implied to these two things, means here c minus h is there. H is approaching towards the 0 means this quantity becomes smaller and smaller. When this becomes smaller and smaller, this point starts to move towards the c from the left side. Similarly, again if this becomes smaller and smaller, I mean approaching towards the 0 means, and c plus h, this point starts to move towards the c. So when this point is moving along with this point also starts to move towards the P. So again when this point starts to move towards the C, when they are starting to move towards the P, the line what I called AP and PB, it is at present now it is like this, right? This one also starts to move shorter and shorter and shorter. When H is approaching towards the 0, this line becomes what? It becomes a one single straight line passing through the point P tangent to the curve y is equal to f of x at P. At P it forms a tangent. So it is forming the tangent means these two are going to become equal, right? So when these two becomes equal, what does that implies? That is left hand limit is going to be equal with the right hand limit, that is H is approaching towards the 0. So when these two becomes equal, the slope becomes the same. When two slopes becomes the same means we are going to get the one single slope. y is equal to f of x. So through one point I can draw only one tangent at a time, so that is this tangent. So through this graphical representation I can define a differentiation or the derivatives as differentiation of a function is slope of tangent drawn at a point on which the differentiation on which the function is differentiated. Okay, so that means if a line is passing, if this line forms a tangent at the point P, means then this line, the slope of this line is nothing but what? The slope of this line is nothing but the differentiation of the curve at this point. So if a line is forming a tangent, means this line touches the curve at one point only. So that point is nothing but the differentiation of this curve at that point. The tangent is nothing but the differentiation, and the slope of that line is nothing but the differentiation of that curve at this point. So that is only they are saying differentiation of a function is a slope of the tangent drawn at a point on which the function is differentiated. Okay, suppose if I consider a function f of x is equal to say x square. So I considered this function f of x is equal to x square. So we already know that the graph of this function is bit like this. Okay, so this is the function of the given function, graph of this function. So if I ask to find the derivative of this function, means what you will take? F dash of x is equal to 2x. We know how we are finding the derivative of this function, that is nothing but 2x. So clearly 2x is what? It is a linear equation. Obviously 2x, it is a straight line. By looking into this only you can. So now suppose if I asked differentiation of the function at x is equal to 2, or I say at x is equal to 4. If I ask find the differentiation of the function at x is equal to 2 and x is equal to 4, means what you will do? So you got f dash of x is equal to what? F dash of x is equal to 2x. Since they asked at x is equal to 2, what you will do? You will substitute 2 in place of x, you will get 4. So this is the differentiation of the function at x is equal to 2. So x is equal to 2 means what? At x is equal to 2, here it will be like this. So you will draw a tangent. This tangent, this line is nothing but what? This line is nothing but a differentiation or a straight line. This is a differentiation or a tangent which is drawn at a point. So what the slope we are going to get, that will become the differentiation of the given point. Okay, so that is nothing but, so similarly if I ask f dash of x is equal to 2x, what is the differentiation at x is equal to 4? You will write 2 into 4, which is nothing but 8. So at 4 something you will get something tangent like this also, and this point will become this point will become what? Your slope of that slope of the tangent drawn at the given point. So this is how the thing, you can understand the thing through the graphical idea also. So this is an just idea which I have given for you people, graphically understanding some of the concept. So now let us move to the one of the theorem which is giving some of the relation between the differentiability and the continuity, which you have already came across. So what the theorem is stating, if a function f is differentiable at a point C, means then it is also continuous at that point. So by looking into the question itself, I mean the theorem statement itself, we can say that if function is differentiable at that point means what does that implies? We can draw the tangent at that point. So we can draw the tangent at that point means it is a curve. So we can say that obviously that at that point the function is continuous. So through the statement itself, by knowing some of the graphical idea, by statement itself we can say if a function is differentiable means obviously that here we are talking about a point. So at that point, so now how we can prove this theorem mathematically? So given that what a function is differentiable, so function is differentiable means at a point say C means according to the definition what does that implies? F dash of C is equal to limit extending to C f of x minus f of C divided by x minus C, provided x is not equal to 0 here. I mean here we are considering where x is not equal to 0. So I will consider now f of x minus f of C. How I can write f of x minus f of C without affecting any of the thing means I will multiply x minus C as well as I will divide x minus C. So when I multiply and divide by the same number, there is no changes in the given thing. So I have done this one and I group like this. Now I will take the limit extending to C on both the side. Okay, I'll take the limit extending to C on both the side. Now by according to the algebra of limits, we know that we can write like this. We can split the limit or partition and write it according to the given function. So what here it becomes limit extending to C f of x minus f of C divided by x minus C into limit extending to C x minus C. Clearly this is nothing but our definition, so it becomes f dash of C. By applying the limit this becomes 0, so f dash of C into 0 it is equal to 0. So LHS, what we are having in the LHS, limit extending to C f of x, and here C is a constant, so constant function it is always a constant, so limit extending to C f of C it is a constant. Now bringing this one to the RHS, what we are going to get? Limit extending to C f of x is equal to f of C. Now what does this statement or this mathematical equation or the statement is saying? That it is nothing but the definition of continuity, right? So if we apply the limit for a given function means if the limiting value is equal to the value of the function at a given point means then we say that the function is continuous. So what does this implies? This implies the function is continuous at x is equal to C. So by the statement, by the definition of a continuity, we can say like this: function is continuous at x is equal to C. So that is what we needed to prove the theorems. If a function is differentiable means that function is continuous at that point. It is differentiable at C, so it is continuous at C. So this is what the theorem 3 is stating. So this is the theorem, right? If a function f is differentiable at a point C means then it is also continuous at that point. So this is the theorem. Through this theorem we can give one of the corollary or one of the statement, that is every differentiable function is continuous. That means if you consider any differentiable function, if that function is differential means then by closing your eyes you can say that that function is continuous. Suppose in the any of the question, if this function, by looking into the function itself you can say that this function can be differentiated or this is differentiable function. If that idea comes to your mind, by closing your eyes itself you can say that that function is continuous. But the reverse statement, the converse statement, that is if every differentiable, here you can observe here every quoted and unquoted, every differentiable function is continuous, but reverse statement is not always true. That is every continuous function need not to be differentiable. That means if I consider a certain continuous function, so by looking into the function you can say this function is continuous. Since it is continuous we can't say that function is differentiable, but if it is differentiable means you can say pakka that is a continuous function. But if it is a continuous function you can't say or you can't judge it by looking into the continuity, that are saying that it is a differentiable function. So to prove that one, or one of the to say that every continuous function need not to be differentiable, I'll consider one of the examples. Say I will consider a function f of x is equal to mod x. So already everyone are familiar with the modulus function, how it is defined. It is minus x when x is less than 0 and x when it is greater than or equal to 0. How the function graph will be? This is the graph. Sorry, you can understand, I'm not that good at the drawing. So this is the modulus function. Okay, we know the graph of the modulus function. So by looking into the graph also, you can say that the given function is a continuous function. Now I will check whether it is a differentiable or not. So what we had to check for the differentiability, we have the formula, that is f dash of c is equal to limit extending to c f of x minus f of c divided by x minus c. So this is the formula to check whether the function is differentiable or not. Suppose if limit exists means, okay. So to check whether the limit exists or not, I have to find the left hand derivative and right hand derivative. I will find whether this is differentiable or not at a point. Say I will consider a point 0 here. I will consider the point 0. So what will be the left hand derivative? So that is nothing but limit extending to 0 minus. So 0 minus f of x minus f of 0 divided by x minus 0. So it is nothing but as limit h is approaching towards the 0. 0 minus means obviously some point here. So it becomes 0 minus h. So what happens? F of 0 minus h minus f of 0 divided by 0 minus h minus 0. So clearly 0 minus h, it is a quantity which comes here, right? 0 minus h, which is a very small quantity which comes here. So when it is less than 0, what is the function? Minus x. So 0 minus h, quantity which is less than 0 minus, what happens? Minus 0 minus h. So minus into minus, what happens? Function f of x is minus x, right? So f of 0 minus h, what happens? Minus 0 minus h. So what happens? Clearly minus into minus plus. So limit h is approaching towards the 0. So minus into minus, we have got plus. F of 0 is 0 divided by minus h. So clearly h get cancels, minus 1 is remaining. So minus 1 is the left hand derivative. Similarly the right hand derivative. So limit as x is approaching towards the 0 from the right side, f of x minus f of 0 divided by x minus 0. So it is nothing but as limit h is approaching towards the 0, we are having the function f of 0 plus h minus f of 0 divided by 0 plus h minus 0. So 0 plus h means obviously that comes under this category, where x is greater than or equal to 0. So 0 plus h, since it is greater than 0, function is 0 plus h itself, that is x itself. So what happens? Limit h is approaching towards the 0, 0 plus h minus 0 divided by h. So 0, it is not at all bothered here. h get cancels, we are going to get 1. So limit h tending to 0 of 1, it is 1 itself. Now you can see that the left hand derivative is equal to minus 1 and right hand derivative is equal to 1. Clearly both are not equal. So the left hand derivative and right hand derivatives are not equal. The limit does not exist here. Limit not existed. So when limit is not existed means what we say? We say that it is not differentiable. It is not differentiable. So the given function is not at all differentiable. So at the point say 0. So modulus function, even though it is a continuous, it is not a differentiable function. So that's why the reverse statement is not true. That is, every continuous function need not to be differentiable. So I have justified this one with one of the examples. So remember guys, the theorem and the converse. So that is, every continuous function need not to be differentiable. Proving this one with one of the example is very important. Theorem along with this converse. Converse statement is not true. So we are proving that one through one of the random example, and the proving this one is very important. So mark it in your book once. So now let us concentrate upon some of the standard derivatives of some of the standard function which you have already learnt in the class 11th. So what is the derivative of d by dx x to the power n? If it is in the form of x to the power n, means the derivative is n x to the power n minus 1. We have already know this formula, d by dx of x. So the derivative of a function with respect to the same variable. So whatever the function we are differentiating, that function's variable is with respect to the same variable, means then it is 1. Suppose if k is a constant, means what? Derivative of any constant function is 0. So these are the purely basic thing which we must be able to remember while differentiating any function. So these are the purely basic derivatives. Then next, what we have learnt in the last year, the trigonometric function, the derivatives of some of the trigonometric function. So derivative, differentiation of sin x is cos x, differentiation of tan x is, it is secant square x, differentiation of secant x is secant x into tan x. Similarly, differentiation of cos is minus sin x, differentiation of cot is minus cosecant square x, and differentiation of cosecant is minus cosecant x into cot x. Remember that one, while we are taking the differentiation of functions which starts with cos x, cot x, cosecant x, all the derivatives of these functions are having a negative sign. Remember this one. Okay. So differentiation of cos minus sin x, differentiation of cot x minus cosecant, differentiation of cosecant x is minus cosecant x into cot x. So this is one of the easiest way to remember some of the formulas. So remember guys, make one chart in front of your table and write all the derivatives which and all you are coming across. So now at present we know the some basic derivatives and trigonometric functions. Later you will come across the derivatives of inverse trigonometric functions, logarithmic functions, exponential functions. So differentiation of all these functions will be going to be come for you people. So again, you people should remember the derivatives or the differentiation of all those functions also. So make a chart or make a table of all these trigonometric derivatives of trigonometric functions or standard functions in front of your table. So later, what and all we have studied, algebra of derivatives. So the differentiation of function where k is a constant, means suppose if k is a constant, means how the derivatives or of this function will be, it will be k times d by dx of f of x, right? Suppose if I consider find the derivative of the function 2 sin x, means what happens, where 2 is a constant, it is equal to 2 times derivative of sin x. So what is the derivative of sin x? It is cos x. So 2 times the cos x, it will be the answer. So this is of a type k times f of x. Then later we have came across derivatives of any two functions, some of the difference. So that is nothing but d by dx of f of x differentiate by splitting it, plus or minus. If it is addition means plus, if it is subtraction means minus. So this is how we are splitting up and finding the derivatives. So when it is product, it is not going along with this one. So when it is product, we have came across the product rule. So what is that product rule? D by dx of first function into second function, means what is that rule? The rule is first function differentiation of the second function plus second function into the differentiation of the first function. This was the rule or a product rule. So this is what when the two we are taking the differentiation of any two product function means. So this will be the rule. Similarly, when it is a quotient, means how it will be, when we are taking the quotient, means if this one is the first function and this one is the second function, means second function into the differentiation of the first function minus first function into the differentiation of the second function divided by second function whole squared. So this is a what, and we call this one as a quotient rule, right? This is nothing but a quotient rule. So suppose if I express f and g with the u and v, suppose uv in this form is Leibniz rule, it is represented in this manner. So how we used to write this one? First function differentiation of the second function plus second function into differentiation of the first. Similarly, if I am writing the quotient rule in form of u and v, means how it will be goes: second function differentiation of the first function minus first function differentiation of the second function divided by second function square. So you can remember the product and the quotient rule by u and v format also, which is comfortable for you people. You can go with those formulas. So these are the formulas or the basic formula which we have already came across in our previous class. So now let us come to the main point of the discussion, that is derivative of a composite function. So what are composite function? We have already came across while we are studying the relations and functions. So if two function which is formed by the composition of two or more functions, we call it as a composite function. So here this is one of the example for a composite function, right? So you can see here one function which is a polynomial and the function it is a cubic function. It is a composition of two functions here. So now how we are going to find the derivatives of like this type of function? So what you will do here, this one it is in the form of a plus b whole cube form, and we are having the formula of this one, that is a cube plus 3a square b plus 3ab square plus b cube. We have this formula. According to this formula we will split it up. So the what happens, it is nothing but 8x cube plus 12x square plus 6x plus 1. So this is our now f of x. We need to find the derivative of this one, that is f dash of x. So derivative of this one is nothing but d by dx of 8x square, 8x cube not square, 8x cube plus 12x square plus 6x plus 1. Right, now we know by the algebra of derivatives, that is each thing can be, derivative can be splitted into each other. How we used to find the derivative in our previous or in the last year, in that manner. How happens here, 8 is a constant, 8 derivative of x cube, it is nothing but 3x square plus 12 derivative of x square, it is 2x plus 6 derivative, it is 1, and derivative of constant, it is 0. So now what happens, 8 3s are 24x square plus 12 2s are 24x plus 6. So from this one if I take 6 common outside, means what happens, 4x square plus 4x plus 1, and this one is nothing but what, 2x plus 1 whole square. So this is what, this is the derivative of the function, which one, f of x is equal to 2x plus 1 whole cube. So derivative of this one is this one. We have got it. Suppose the same composite function, if it is in the form of 2x plus 1 to the power 100, means how we are going to deal with it? Since here the power was very small, we have find it out by splitting it up and with the regular thing or a basic idea which we have already having. Suppose if it is in this manner, how we are going to deal with it? So here the given function f of x is equal to what, 2x plus 1 to the power 3. So it is a composition of two functions. One function is what, it is 2x plus 1, another one is x cube. If I consider this one as one function, means that one is to the power cube. One is polynomial, one is the cubic function. So I will call up of, or I will take 2x plus 1 has equal to t. Okay, I am taking this function 2x plus 1 has equal to t. Now clearly f of x means what, it is y. So clearly y is equal to what, 2x plus 1 whole cube. Understand it carefully guys. So we need to find the derivative. So finding the derivative means what, dy by dx. So we are finding the derivative of the function y with respect to x. So I have considered now this one as equal to t, means it happens what, t cube. Okay, since we are finding the derivative with respect to x, remember it one clearly here, what is t cube? If a function which is in the form of t cube, means what, or function x cube means how we are taking 3x square. So t cube means what? 3t square. Whether this is a derivative with respect to x, no, this is a derivative of a function with respect to t, right? This was a derivative, that is nothing but dy by dt, right? Because here y is equal to t cube, which is in the form of y is equal to f of t. So what the derivative we have got it here, that is y dash, it is nothing but dy by dt. So t cube it is equal to 3t square, it is nothing but dy by dt, but we require dy by dx. So now what the function t is there, we are differentiating again that function t with respect to x, that is dt by dx. Okay, so now 3t square, what is our t here? T was 2x plus 1. So what happened? 3. T means again 2x plus 1. I am again back substituting that. Now I am differentiating this one with respect to x. What happens? This one is nothing but 2 into dx by dx, it is 1 itself. Differentiation of a constant, it is 0. So what happens? 6, it is square is there, t square. 6, 3 2s are 6, 2x plus 1 whole square. So this is the derivative of a function with respect to x. So you can see here answer of both are one and the same. So what we have did here, we have taken one function, we have substituted one function with the variable, and what, keep one thing in your mind, the given function y is equal to f of x. We need to find the derivative, means what, we are differentiating that function with respect to x. Suppose if I split up this function, y is in the form of what, if I take one another variable and substitute it, it is in the form of y is equal to now in f of t, means then finally you should get a derivative dy by dx. Suppose in the beginning, after taking one substitution, if it is in the form of y is equal to f of t, means to get dy by dx, first what you have did, first you have differentiated that function with respect to the new variable which you have taken with respect to t, you have differentiated, but you require the differentiation of y with respect to x. Since you differentiated y with respect to t, continue, that is you have to differentiate now that t with respect to x. So this is nothing but what, this is nothing but a chain rule. So this is nothing but what, it is a called as a chain rule. By this one, by using the chain rule, we can solve the difficult task of finding the derivatives of like this type of a function. So here if I take 2x plus 1 has equal to t, means what happens to our y, y is equal to t to the power 100. Now if I need to find dy by dx, first what I will do, t to the power 100 means 100 t to the power 99, it is the differentiation of y with respect to t. Now since we require differentiation of y with respect to x, but first thing what we have did here, we have differentiated y with respect to t. Now again we need to differentiate that t with respect to x. Okay, so now I am back substituting that t, that is 2x plus 1 to the power 99 d by dx of 2x plus 1. What happens? 100 2x plus 1 to the power 99. Differentiation of this one is 200 into 2, it is nothing but 200 2x plus 1 to the power 99. This is the derivative of the function y is equal to 2x plus 1 whole power 100. So this is how we are differentiating. So the thing or the theorem 4, it is nothing but what, it is nothing but our chain rule, so which I have mentioned previously. So what does that theorem is stating here? If f is a real valued function which is a composition of two functions, as I said there I considered a function f has 2x plus 1 whole cube. Here it is a composition of two functions. Suppose if I consider our u of x as 2x plus 1 and v of x as equal to x cube, means what happens, v of u v of u of x means what happens? V of u of x. Since v of x is x cube, v of u of x, it becomes what? U of x whole cube. What is u of x? It is nothing but 2x plus 1 whole cube, which is nothing but a f of x. So clearly f of x, it is a composition of two functions. So f is a real valued function which is a composition of two functions, say u and v, that is f is equal to v of u. Suppose if I take v of x is equal to t, as I said not v of x, here I have taken u of x as equal, that is equal to 2x plus 1, which is equal to t. I have considered there this one as equal to t, right? So if I consider this one as t, and suppose if I get du by dt, that is nothing, what is du by dt here? If I differentiate this one with respect to x, that is 2. And what is dt by dx? Suppose if I cancel it out, I am saying here, suppose if I take v of x is equal to t, and if both these are existing, means then df by dx is equal to dv by dt dot dt by dx. So that only we have did in our previous example, taking v of x as equal to t, then to get df by dx. So to get df by dx, what we have did? We have did dv by dt. Here I have taken u as du by dt into dt by dx, right? So du by dt means what does that implies? So first thing I have differentiated. So to get this one, so first I have taken u of x is equal to 2x plus t, which is equal to t. So then what I have did, according to the question, what happens? Our f of x, it has becoming t cube, right? First I differentiated this one with respect to what? I have differentiated this one with respect to t. So that is nothing but I have taken u of x as equal to t, and then I differentiated dv by dt by taking this one as equal to t and differentiating, what we get? dv by dt. So what is that dv by dt? 3t square dot, then they are saying dt by dx. I am writing now dt by dx as it is. Now I am back substituting the t, that is 3 2x plus 1 whole square dot d by dx of t, that is 2x plus 1. After differentiation we are going to get 6 times 2x plus 1 whole square. So this is the process according to the definition what we are doing. So you might get confusion at this moment, but upon solving these type of problem continuously, what and all the doubts regarding the chain rule you people are having, all those things are going to be get cleared. Even though you are having any doubts regarding this chain rule or explanation based upon this one, means you can ask me at any time, guys. So now let us consider another example, that is f of x is equal to sine x square. So clearly this is a composition of two functions which we have already seen in the exercise of 5.1. We are solving 5.1 exercise. We have came across this sine x square. It is a composition of two functions, right? So it is clear that it is a composition of two functions. Now what I am doing here is I am taking x square is equal to t. So by taking x square is equal to t, what happens to a f of x? It becomes what? It becomes sine t. So we need to find what? We need to find df by dx, or if I call this one as y, means we need to find dy by dx. So dy by dx, it is equal to, now first thing what? We are having our y is equal to sine t. First I am differentiating that y with respect to t. So what happens by differentiating that one with respect to t? What is the differentiation of sine t? It is cos t. Now t is a variable, right? So now I am differentiating that t with respect to x. Now what happens? Cos t, what is t here? T was x square, cos x square dot d by dx of x square. What happens now? Cos x square direct, d by dx of x square, it is nothing but 2x. So what is the differentiation? 2x cos x square. So derivative of sin x square, it is nothing but what? 2x cos x square. So this is a derivative of this one. So direct substitution, if you understand these concept clearly, means a direct way or a alternative way of solving this one. Suppose if y is equal to sin x square, means then dy by dx, how it will be goes? D by dx of sin x square. How I can solve this one? We know how we can solve this one, means we know what is the derivative of sin x. The derivative of sin x is what? Cos x, right? So I am going in that manner. Dy dx of sin x square, it is nothing but cos x square. Even x square, it is another function. So later I am finding the derivative of that one also. What happens? Cos x square, derivative of this one is 2x. So 2x cos x square. Understood? So moving along with the function. So here sin x square, derivative of sin x square, cos x square. X square, it is again a function. So I am again differentiating that one with respect to x. So this is a direct method of solving. This is also a chain rule itself. Suppose if you understand these things clearly, means you can adopt this direct method, so that you can save most of the time of solving the composite function, of solving the compositions. So for your understanding purpose, I'll consider another example. I'll take f of x. We need to find the derivative of this function. So clearly it is a composition of two functions. One is a tan function, another one is a polynomial function. So what I will first do, first I will take 2x plus 3 has equal to what? It has equal to t. So what happens our, if I will call this one as also y, means y is equal to what? Tan t. So we got y is equal to tan t. We need to find what? We need to find dy by dx, right? So now by using the chain rule, what happens by using the chain rule? First I am differentiating this one with respect to t. So what is the differentiation of tan t with respect to t? It is secant square t, but we need a differentiation with respect to x. So what happens? dt by dx. So what is t here? It is nothing but secant square 2x plus 3 d by dx of 2x plus 3. Now what is the differentiation of 2x plus 3 with respect to x? It is 2. So what is the derivative? 2 times secant square 2x plus 3. This is the derivative of given function. So direct substitution, if I do directly, means how it will be goes? If I take y is equal to tan 2x plus 3, means then dy by dx is equal to what? d by dx of tan 2x plus 3. Now what is the derivative of tan x? Derivative of tan x is secant square x. So it becomes secant square 2x plus 3. Again 2x plus 3, it is a function, it is a polynomial function. So we need to find the derivative of that one. What is the derivative of 2x plus 3 with respect to x? It is 2. So what is the derivative? 2 times secant square 2x plus 3. So you can see here both are one and the same answer. So this is a direct method, direct substitution, and this is a step-by-step process of getting the answer. So both are the chain rule only. So you will adopt to this one upon continuous practice. That I can say for one thing for clear, upon continuous practice only. And chain rule, it is one of the very basic and very important to solve the most of the differentiation concept. In each and every other topic which are coming under the differentiation, so to solve each and everything, the chain rule is very important. Whenever the composite function or a combination of two or more function comes, means the chain rule is must and should. So it is one of the very important. Please understand this concept very clearly. Suppose if you didn't understand any of the concept regarding the chain rule, means you can ask me at any time. So this is regarding the composition of a function and how we are using the chain rule to find the composition of a function. So this is regarding this video. If you have any doubts, means you can ask me at any time. Thank you, students.